All right, well, three, two, one. What's up, y'all? I've got David Dlug on the line. He is an SDR at Stratus IP. What's up, David?
What's going on, Mark? Thanks for having me tonight.
Dude, it's good to see you. Good to see you. So we always start with a triple whammy. So one, how was your day? Two, what are you drinking? And three, what something you learned today?
Well, my day was awesome, man. It was a long one. It's freaking hot out there. What I'm drinking today, I got some AHA sparkling seltzer. It's deliciousness. And then, what was the last part? What I learned today?
What'd you learn today?
I learned to
The
take it easy,
crux.
man, and enjoy the ride. Because once you're an adult, you're working every day. You got to enjoy the ride and accomplish some goals. That's what it's all about.
Dang. I'm drinking a a glacier freeze Gatorade. I just got one of them 9-gallon powdered
It's huge
Gatorades,
ones. Yeah.
and so I got the 48-ounce jug of Gatorade. It's probably a lot of sugar, but man, I'm hydrated. I'm probably gonna have to get up to pee halfway through this. But dude, tell me about what you said on the thing that you're learning about taking it easy. What does that mean to you? That
Yeah,
stuck
man.
out
It's
to me.
essentially enjoying the ride. So sometimes, especially, I'm from New Jersey. People kind of get lost in the process. So every day is kind of the same pattern, and you can easily get
Yeah,
lost in it. So you got to really um, find some time to yourself. You got to really enjoy what you're doing on a daily basis because what's the point of it all if you're not actually enjoying yourself? So make
that's
sure you're in a
huge.
spot in your life where you're enjoying a career that you want to pursue, and just take it step by step. Don't
That's
overthink.
huge. I feel that with SDR, man. It's like you come in every day and you grind every day. You make the calls, you do the emails, dude. It can get brutal.
Yeah, I hear you.
What do you do to like keep it fresh?
Well, to
Keep
keep
it
it fresh,
relaxed.
yeah, well, I have a really great manager. He helps break up that tension, some jokes here or there. It's nice. He's actually two cubes away. He can actually cubicles. He can give me some advice during the day, so we're able to have casual conversation. It's not so much super grueling when you have a supportive team behind you as well. So that's
That's
really good
tight.
and a great manager.
That's tight, dude. All right. Well, I heard that you are at something like 300% of quota. Tell us a little bit about your success.
Yeah, something about that. It's around that, around 300 to 400 in there. Yeah, well, a few things go into it. I would say high level, definitely organization, staying fresh. I would say another one. I can go a little bit deeper into that, and work ethic, just keeping your goals intact. So,
Hmm.
just high level, I guess, kind of diving into the first one, organization. It's really about well, an SDR. You talk to a lot of prospects, you book appointments.
Yeah.
It's one thing to just give responsibility to somebody and say, hey, keep track of all my stuff for me, but it's
Yeah.
also satisfying to keep track of all your own prospects and make sure everything's aligned on your own side. Hold yourself accountable, essentially.
Yeah. That's cool. And and you guys don't use a sales engagement platform like an Outreach or a Sales Loft, or like you're doing this pretty manual in a way, right?
We have an auto dialer in a sense, but as far as connecting with prospects, that's all on our own. They're pretty much we just get the numbers, names,
Dude,
but it's pretty raw compared to some other
that's
methods.
pretty that's pretty savage.
Yeah, it takes a lot, but listen, when you make it work, it's so satisfying because you're essentially
Yeah.
making this appointment, just using information and your people skills and being able to connect and see if somebody really needs help. And that's our job, is to connect. So it's really satisfying too.
Dang. So what's your process look like then for get setting appointments?
Yeah. So essentially, be very receptive. You have to really take into account where people are from. I know we joked earlier, like, different people from different areas may talk a little bit slower, different dialects,
Yeah.
different lifestyles. So I think sales is really empathetic. You have to connect to people on an emotional level. So in
Yeah.
order if I'm not going to see your face and it's not an in-person
Yeah.
call as SDRs, you really have to win somebody over with trust using just your voice and how you talk. So those two things are really big. So really know who you're talking to, and that's essential. And then from there, have the knowledge to back it, which comes with training and time.
Yeah.
And then eventually you just get into a habit of being able to talk to people, and
That's
you just
tight.
kind of get lost in it. It's more natural over time.
And are you booking most of your appointments via phone then?
Yeah, for the most part, I've had one or two here email. We're working on our email process, but I would say mostly calls for the most part. And to be honest with you, most of my calls are on the first touch. I know some people, reach out multiple times. I find a lot of success on my first conversations with people when I see opportunity right away, and I try to close on that. So that's where I find most of my success.
Dang, that's rad. What does your or what kind of style do you have on the phone? Like, what's your pitch? Do you have a script that you go off of, or is everything personalized to each prospect?
Well, I used to have a script, and it was more generalized. And over time, I kind of minimized and minimized and minimized. And then the more I've talked, more I talk to people, I kind of seen patterns as far as what kind of verbiage. As far as I'm in the telecom industry, by the way.
Yeah.
So once you get a lot of the verbiage down, it's more of a matter of fact, you're just having like a natural conversation. So when you ask somebody like, "Hey, how's your phone's internet going?" Once they start spitting out some high level words and you recognize what those are, you can have a conversation go one way or the other, depending on what the person says. So it is personalized in that aspect that I guess that comes along with the knowledge aspect that you're able to, capitalize on your knowledge and take the conversation forward.
That's cool. Tell me a little bit about like what actually you guys sell.
Yeah, so Stratus IP, we're considered a master agent in the telecom industry. Essentially, we take a white glove approach to essentially three high pillars. We do a lot of hosted telephony, a lot of dedicated fiber, a lot of SD-WAN. As far as that goes, we have around 10 to 12 different carriers at any given time, and we connect the clients with the correct carrier based on region, based on what they need. So that's pretty high
So you're
level.
selling? Are you selling to businesses then?
Yeah, so we're essentially business to business.
Okay. And are you guys selling, around the US, global?
Yeah, we're nationwide. I know we have a few customers that have touch base with some international offices, so there's nothing we really can't do. And that's especially important too, that we work with so many different carriers that we're able to have access to different regions that are maybe more so dominated by other carriers. And it really comes to our advantage that we're able to help a lot of different prospects pretty much nationwide, um, the process that we utilize and the amount of carriers we have as well.
That's super interesting. I mean, I've had a lot of people in the SaaS industry
Mhm.
on my show, and so you're the first telecom guy, which is sick. Um, and you're a phone guy. You book most of your meetings via phone.
Mhm.
What's like the what's like the best and worst phone conversation with a prospect you've had?
Well, I would say worse than the fact that I had one that was like a 40-minute conversation with an older guy who definitely had too much time on his hands, and he kind of gotten into it with me, and it seemed like he was somewhat interested. By like the 40th minute mark,
No way.
I
This is
could
cold
tell.
call.
Cold call, yeah. It was a pretty local call too. I think it was I forget what kind of business it was, but he really knew what he was talking about, and we got into it. And at the very end, he kind of said, "Hey, I already picked my vendors who I want to work with." I'm like, "Well, you just spent 40 minutes talking to me, and I was going to try to win you over, but I guess you
Oh
have
my
nothing
god.
else to do."
No way. Who sits on a call for 40 minutes?
I guess depending on different jobs, I guess different days you have different amount of time, to talk to vendors. But I was surprised as well.
All right,
It was
what's your best call that you've ever had? To,
best
to
call I had.
memory. To
Yeah.
memory.
Oh, definitely. Okay. So we're out in New Jersey. We're pretty fast spoken. I had a guy, I think it was in Kansas. Super nice guy. He asked me pretty much how my day went, and actually, like, it was like talking to somebody you bump into like in a grocery store or something of that nature. It was very like wholesome conversation.
Yeah.
Not only did I book an appointment because he needed help, but we had a great conversation talking about like families and sports and just the whole nine yards. So that was actually probably the best conversation I had because it felt so different from a lot of other prospects that kind of rush you off the phone.
Dang, that's tight. I love that. I feel like the phone I feel like most of the people that I'm talking to are booking a lot of appointments on the phone now.
Yeah, it's really effective. You'd be surprised, especially nowadays with all email lists and everything getting barraged in emails. It's really hard to get out of the spam filter or to get
Yeah.
ahead of other people in terms of emails, just to catch attention, just because a lot of email correspondence go on nowadays. So you kind of get lost within that mix. So a phone call is powerful in the fact that if somebody takes the time to actually pick up the phone and you're able to develop trust, that's you have them kind of in your hand and you're able to
Yeah.
hopefully, continue that as opposed to an email. It's so easy to just throw it away and archive it, as opposed to, some people aren't comfortable saying like I got to go. Like some people will hear you out. So I feel like
Yeah.
you just based off the format, whether call versus email, you just have such a greater chance just with call to start with.
I like that. I like that. I like what you said about once you get them on the phone, you have the opportunity. Like, what's your process for handling objections and kind of getting past the initial, like, I'm not interested, or just people trying to rush you off the phone.
I get that all the time, and to be honest, now more so than ever, just because of a pandemic and budget freezes, and you'd be surprised any excuse. I mean, these are legitimate excuses or objections, but you'd be
Yeah,
surprised. So essentially, when I first started working, I got a SDR playbook, which is real useful, and it pretty much covers in our industry, pretty the big objections, and I'm sure they relate to other SDRs as well, whether it be budget freezes, not the right time. But what's really big in the telecom industry is contracts. So that's kind of like the most important thing you want to ask somebody, because if their contract's not for 2+ years, you can't really make any effective changes because they're
yeah,
locked down for 2+ years. Um, so that's really important. So the way to go around that is, to, if they say 2 years, put them down, task them out for a year. We typically have conversations at least a year out, because sometimes these implementation processes take a while. So you task them out, and in a year, you call back and say, "Hey, I talked to you. I know your contract's up in a year." And then right there, the fact that that knowledge shows that you've had a solid conversation with the past, and
yeah,
that trust is already established from the get go. So you're more likely to have a closure rate when you have trust.
yeah. No, that's huge. That's huge. So you get the contract, um, you get the contract objection. What about like a not interested objection? How you take that one?
Well, sometimes you really can't beat it, because if somebody is kind of being a jerk to you on the phone, to be honest, and it's just like they're not having it at all. You kind of have to take it and go with it and just say, okay, thank you for your time. But if you see any sort of opening, and if they're even somewhat receptive, even if they say I'm not interested, I'll still ask them the questions that I normally ask, such as, what are your contracts? And I'll try to say it in a way that's empathetic, not so much demanding, more so like, hey, I'm your friend, how can I help? Some
Yeah,
people, they read off a script, may sound a little bit more robotic, and it may come off as telemarkety. So that's a
yeah.
really important factor to consider as well. How you're speaking.
Dang, I like that. I like that. Yeah, I feel like it's really hard to get past people that are not in the mood. Like,
Yeah,
or
and you'll
like,
have that. You'll see Fridays, man. You'll see. Listen, Fridays you have the best success just because people are in a good mood, and it sounds silly, but it's a real thing. People are more likely. They might have their work finished up in traditional companies at 9 to 5, and these
yeah.
IT directors might be in the server room with more time. Different SDRs, different prospects, but more often than not, you'll find more success like on a Friday or Thursday than a Monday morning.
Do you make more calls on Fridays then? Just because of that?
You would think so, but I make the same amount every day. But I definitely do see a higher closure rate on Fridays for sure.
How many calls do you make a week?
So my quota is 150 a day. That
Wait,
just
wait,
means
wait, what? You make 150 dials a day?
$150 a day. Yes, yeah,
No way.
yeah,
That's insane. How
yeah.
many people you think you connect with?
Connect. We define connection as at least a 2-minute conversation. That's how the system defines it. I would say on a good day, before the pandemic, maybe like 8 to 10 on a good day, and then nowadays you'll see like maybe two or three. It really depends.
Yeah,
And we try to keep the leads as clean as possible. So when we get them from Zoom, we'll try to keep the prospects in our vertical. So IT managers, IT directors. But even if you have all the right people aligned and you're calling 150 dials a day, just some people might not pick up. It's just the fact of people work from home now. Just people don't want to answer their work phone. There's so many
yeah.
reasons.
You're calling 150 people a day, 8 to 10 conversations. How many of those are turning into appointments, opportunities?
Well, 8 to 10 over 2 minutes. I would say total conversations, maybe including people to just brush you off and say not interested or no thanks, maybe like 20 to 30 on a good day, maybe like 15 to 20 on
Holy
the
cow.
yeah. How many do you turn into an appointment? Well, my quote is around 8 a month. So you break, what is 8 a month? So you break that down, that's two a week. So, two a week, 150 a day. I hold myself to a personal goal. I try to get at least two a day. I know that's kind of unrealistic in the sense of it doesn't work out in the math based off my quota. But if you shoot, a little bit higher and you shoot for the stars, you'll be able to achieve more instead of being, complacent with just a quota or shooting for the bare bones. Um,
Holy cow. You said that I don't know if you're allowed to talk about this, but you guys had some layoffs on in the company.
Yeah, it happened. I mean, it's just due to with the pandemic. It was unfortunate, and I know a lot of other companies are experiencing that as well. I hope, more so than ever in the future, we're able to get some employees back. And I'm sure a lot of people nationwide are feeling the same thing with what is it,
Yeah.
40 million people unemployed, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are, in the same space. Like, is there anything that you got yourself ready for? Like, well, obviously, there's nothing to get ready for, but once everything started, was there anything you did to make sure you were in a position to save your butt, your job?
Yeah. And I mean, once again, it's really unfortunate, and I know that's definitely something you had to think of. When I first started, my manager Brian, who's essentially he's my mentor, it's like a big brother to me. He really told me, he's like, make sure you always consider yourself, the most valuable person at the company, and make sure your work ethic and your results show that as well. Because
Yeah.
when a push comes to shove, hopefully you'll be able to be looking at a light that for maybe a promotion, or in a case like this, hopefully you'll be saved in something like this. I mean, as terrible
Dang.
as that sounds, and I know it's really unfortunate, but you always want to make yourself the most valuable person, no matter where you are.
Dang. That's nuts. 150 dials a day. Did you get tired of that?
You would think so, but you get used to it, and that's all I've known. This is my first actual, career type position out of college, and I've been working here since August. So it's all I know, and it's definitely doable. It's actually I don't even consider 150 my limit. I just like I said, it's a means to an end. So at the end of the day, we want to close appointments, we want to get business, we want
Yeah.
to generate revenue.
Yeah.
So I think of in terms of appointments. I'm not happy with 150 dials, and I don't really, to be honest, I try not to look at my dials so that I just continually call a day, and I hopefully hit 200. I know when I first started working, I was a little tiresome, definitely burnout esque, but I was hitting like 250 some days. And I had to
No,
dial that back because my boss told
no
me if
way.
you're going to keep
There's
doing that, you're not going to be able to sustain something
there's
like that.
no way you were making 250 dials in a day.
It's true. It was nonstop. I would skip lunch. I just started working. I thought the best way to get ahead would do that and skip lunch. And it's kind of a short term growth, and then it kind of crashes. So it's not definitely not sustainable.
250. You even breathe when you're
A
making that
little
many
bit,
dials?
a little bit. It
You
was
gotta be
great.
drinking coffee all day, got your Gatorade, got your 48 ouncer.
You'd be surprised. I was dedicated to the water life. I didn't want to get dependent on caffeine like a lot of other professionals I see around me in other companies and whatnot. So I actually stayed away from caffeine, and I was trying to stay au naturel. And it was hard, man. It was very hard.
So what's your boss say? He was like, "Hey, you're going nuts. You
Yeah,
can't
he
be
said you're
making that."
going nuts. He said you're doing great, but listen, if you want to sustain something like this, I think you should dial it back a little bit and focus more on quality over quantity. And that stuck with me. And
Yeah.
then I took more consideration some deeper learnings and trainings, and that's definitely more important than quantity calls. Obviously, you don't want to make 2 calls a day,
No, yeah.
but you don't want to make 250.
So I feel like I'm seeing like this trend come back to sales development of making a lot of dials. I had a guy on my show, we call him the dial monster. You might give him a run for his money. He does like 400 dials a week. He's got at 160% of quota at ambition. And I hear a lot of people in the space talking about um, making like 20, 30 dials a day. But I'm wondering if there's like this resurgence of like hitting the phones hard and like doing it right. Cause talk to me, I feel like there's something about getting reps on the phone, which makes you really good at it. Talk to me
Yeah.
about that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess is the question more so about, the quantity of the calls that we're really asking about, how that really differentiates?
Yeah, I mean, just like the whole idea of like cold calling is dead and like, you know, people talking about more quantity over, or sorry, people talking about quality over quantity. And when I hear people talking about quality over quantity, they're talking like 30 to 50 calls a day.
Wow. Yeah. So it's definitely, I would imagine that's the case due to maybe not having an auto dialer program that you utilize, and as maybe it's more of a manual process. I could definitely see that affecting your dials for the day. I can also imagine vertical has a big part. So if you're calling the people that answer the phone more often, like maybe these IT guys don't answer as much, so maybe I'm able to make a lot more calls and I have them pick up. Maybe if you're calling more people that will definitely pick up, you'll obviously have longer conversations and you won't be able to have as many dials during the day. As far as the fact of like is cold calling dead, I would say no. In the fact of people are still picking up the phone. It's just not as easy. So you kind of have to really hone your skills in, to when people pick up the phone, you make sure it's the best possible conversation you can have, and not let it slip away.
Yeah.
Um,
But you got to be making a lot of dials to be that confident on the phone. Like you don't just come
Definitely,
out of
yeah.
the gate and you can't make 20 dials a day. I don't think, personally, I don't think you can make 20 dials a day and be super confident on the phone. I just don't think it's possible.
Definitely not. And I definitely came over time. Like when I first started, I was a little hesitant. I was reading a script. If you're reading it right, I was so concerned if I got asked a question, I wouldn't know. And just
Yeah,
naturally over time, talking to my boss, doing trainings with my team. Actually, once a week, we have something called carrier education, which is actually when a carrier comes into us and they discuss, all their new products and latest and greatest.
that's
And we're
cool.
able to absorb that so we can have conversations on the phone with up to date technology. Like you'll see Zoom, like we're on right now, and Teams is really big. We do a
Yeah,
lot with that. So having powerful knowledge on something that's trending, and people that really want it and need it is powerful because
yeah,
it's what people are talking about.
yeah, that's cool. Well, what are some of your aspirations?
My aspirations are to continue to move up, the career ladder. I'm really dead set on organization and leadership and definitely interpersonal skills. So anything in management. I'm also open to a consultant role, which is more of the outside sales in my company, and I just want to keep going up and up. And I'm super happy where I am, which is awesome. And I just know there's good things in the future. I just have to continue to work hard, earn my stripes, and just continue along. That's the best I could do. And actually, one of the things that the points I wanted to touch too is what's really important for SDRs is kind of gets overlooked is how to stay fresh. And when I say how to stay fresh is, if you're just staring at a dialer all day and looking at the phone book, you're going to go a little brain dead.
Yeah,
What I recommend is I like to have some ebooks open in other tabs. So as I make a call while I'm hearing a ring, I read a few sentences, a paragraph, I get some knowledge in. Maybe I have a muted YouTube video and I read subtitles.
I
Just
do
something to
that
keep your
too.
brain working. Yeah, same thing,
I
right?
do that too.
Yeah, stay fresh.
Yeah, you can't make 100 dials a day and like just stare at the screen
I
with
did
the
that my first few
prospect.
days, and I was like, "This is a crazy job." I was like, "This is kind of, you know, uh, mind-numbing." You really have to do something else to preoccupy yourself. And when you get a
What do you
conversation,
watch while you're what do you I personally I'll watch like mountain biking videos or like how-to videos with like subtitles while I'm making
yeah,
calls.
something to de-stress, and I get that. Maybe something that's
Yeah.
trending on YouTube, or I also like to watch, SDR or actually sales YouTube videos. There's like a whole entire world out there of like
Yeah.
SDR tips, and just even maybe looking at the bio, you can see pretty much the video collapsed in like 2 paragraphs, and that's
Yeah.
as effective as watching a 7-minute video.
That's so funny. What kind of ebooks do you read while you're making calls?
It really depends. Like once again, I do a lot of sales and pretty much a lot of motivational books. So I like to, better myself with some, personal growth and the fact of how to take care of your body, not only physically, eating the foods, but just how to have a good mental space, which
That's
is
cool.
definitely really important in a job like this where it may be very tedious in the mind doing such a repetitive task on a daily basis. You want to be able to keep other aspects of your life in check so that you don't fall through the cracks.
Dang. Keeping it fresh.
Yeah.
What else do you do?
Yeah, and so I guess organization, like I spoke of, staying fresh, my second one. I would say my biggest one as well is having a good work ethic.
Yeah,
You want to have each day is a win. I was taught that when I first started
that's
working.
cool.
So
Each day is a win. I
yeah,
like
so
that.
take one day at a time. You have a quota for the month, but you can't achieve a month in one day. You have to take it one day at a time. And what can you do to better your day? Hit your dials, have good conversations, stay in the zone, have some casual conversation, live like anybody else, but know when to hone it back and when it's time, to get some work done. And when you have
That's
that
like,
kind of mindset and you get somebody on the phone, you're ready to go. You're not goofing
yeah.
around. You're not one hand on the phone, one hand tying your shoe, or playing with a dog or something like that. We do have dogs in the office on Friday, so that's why I say that.
Yeah, you got a dog? You a dog
I
guy?
have a dog. He has a 6-year-old black lab, Jake. I just took him for
Uh,
a walk, like not just 5 minutes ago.
that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
How about you?
We are not dog people. We have a child, but
Oh,
we
nice.
don't do dogs. That's I like other people's dogs. I mean, I got nothing against dogs. I just the travel thing with the dog and then having someone, take care of
Watch.
it.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. It just
I
doesn't
get
seem
that.
like it's for me.
Maybe when you're older, a little bit more stationary, maybe it'll be a better idea for you.
Yeah. And
Or a
our
cat.
dog
They're pretty cats are independent too, so you don't have to worry about it as much.
my daughter really likes dogs when she's one. Every time she sees a dog, she's ah, I got a dog. So we'll see.
Dad, I want one.
I know. I can see it coming, but me and my wife are gonna be like, I don't know. We can't have a dog, and we're gonna make something up or something. Like our house is undog friendly or something like that. She'll believe that Thursday morning. um, do you have any mentors that you? I know you mentioned your boss, but like besides that, or you can just expand on that. Any mentors that have kind of helped you get where you're at?
Definitely, yeah. So the CEO of our company, Mike Dlug, my uncle, he actually, was gracious enough to when I first started looking for a job. He's like, how about you come give us opportunity? Because long story short is, I did engineering in college, and I knew that wasn't for me, and I wanted to have something a little bit more, interpersonal. So I took up marketing, and my uncle's like, hey, we do sales. Why don't you come shadow for us for a day and see how it goes? And I loved it. And he's pretty much helped me along the way as far as
That's tight.
crafting my skills and keeping me in line, and continuing forward in the path that I want, in order to succeed and have a bright future. And he always has inspiring words. He leads the monthly meeting once a month with the company, and it's always makes me want to run through a door. It's like some Wolf of Wall Street type, speeches
That's
when he's
tight.
like banging the microphone on his head.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's how you feel after his pep talks.
Then you go, you make 300 dials.
Yeah, right. I chug a
That's
20,
tight.
or I chug a, what is that, a 6 hour energy, and I'm good to go.
Oh my gosh. What advice would you give to anybody starting the role?
I would say take it slow, absorb. Depending on the industry you're in, there's a lot to know. There's a lot of acronyms, especially in telecom. It may be overwhelming when you talk to somebody on the phone who's really technically based, as far as knowledge and whatnot, and
Yeah.
what they do on a daily basis. So just take it slow, and then write every question you have. Write it down, and talk
Mm,
to your manager and your boss afterwards, or look it up, and just
that's cool.
pretty much just take it one step at a time. That's the best advice: is take it one step at a time, and it will all fall in place. It just takes time.
And make 300 dials when you first start.
300 dials. Yep, day by day.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. So as far as next steps for you, whether it's, being an outside sales rep or in management, you have any timeline on that?
I've seen lots of things online. It's definitely up to discretion of the company, especially it's kind of a curveball now with the whole pandemic and,
Yeah.
growth of the company. We're definitely in a great position, and we're going to continue to be in that position. It's just, it's not the same as if the pandemic didn't hit. Personal timeline, I would hopefully like to see, like, in a few years, some growth. And it really
Yeah.
depends. What's kind of interesting is that we didn't actually have an SDR department. I think it was before last May. My
Yeah.
my boss Brian, he was an outside consultant, and he started this department with my uncle, the CEO. And so when you go back and say, hey, what do I want to do in 3 years from now? You may have a whole new department that you never even thought of as of this point. So it's
That's
one thing
cool.
to aspire for your goals, but you have to keep an open mind, because you never know what kind of opportunities can present itself,
That's
especially
for
if you're in a
sure.
successful company that continues growth.
Yeah, and it sounds like you guys are growing despite, pandemic and
Yeah.
all this
We're
kind
doing
of
really
stuff.
well, and we're grateful. We have an awesome sales team. We have awesome management. We have client care that continues the support of our accounts, the whole 9 yards, and it's going really well.
Dude, that's awesome. Well, hey, I'm gonna wrap it up, but thanks so much for being on our show, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. And I hope somebody learned something today out there. Any SDRs, or anybody in that space. Once again, this is Dave from Stratus IP. Any telecom needs, feel free to just Google Stratus IP.
Yes.
Ask for Dave.
As
He'll
for
set you. He'll set
Dave,
you. He'll set you straight.
yeah, you might get cold called by Dave. Watch out.
Yeah.
300 dials, 150 dials a day. He's coming for you, baby.
Well,
Awesome.
thanks
Well,
again, Mark.
yeah, it was a pleasure having you, Dave.